Religion, the most dangerous problem in our society. After all, we are all humans. Why should we fight for some religion and stuffs? Why hate for religion? Stop this nonsense forever. Everyone are equal. I hope all of this will come to an end. Those who go out to kill in the name of religion, let them fight each other and die. At least the population of the world decrease. Let the weight of the earth decrease. In this video, we are not blaming any religion. We are going to discuss about the first war happened because of religion. The highest number of people died not because of diseases, but because of religion. Religious wars. Millions of people die because of religion. This didn't start today or yesterday. It is something that began many years ago. The first religious war. The Crusades. The religion is the cause of violent fights throughout the history and caused deep pains and many tragedies. The Crusades. The Crusades were a series of religious wars that took place almost 1,000 years ago, between 1095 and 1291. What was the fight about? The main reason was a city called Jerusalem, often called the Holy Land. For Christians, it was the place where Jesus lived and died. For Muslims, it was a sacred city where the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. Both religions loved this city deeply and wanted to control it so their people could visit it safely. How did the war start? A Christian emperor in the East was losing land to Turkish Muslim armies. He asked the Pope, the leader of the Catholic Church, in Europe for help. Pope then gave a famous speech asking Christian knights and even regular people to go to the Holy Land and take it back. The Church told people that if they went to fight, their sins would be forgiven, and they would go to heaven. This made thousands of people join. What actually happened? There wasn't just one war, but many crusades over 200 years. The First Crusade, the Christians won and took over Jerusalem. A later crusades, famous leaders like Saladin, a great Muslim general, took the city back for the Muslims. Other famous kings, like Richard the Lionheart from England, tried to win it back but failed. Eventually, after much fighting, the Muslim armies remained in control of the land, and the European crusaders went back. The result? Many people died. As we discussed before, millions lost their lives, not just from fighting, but from hunger and disease during the long journeys. A trade in knowledge. Even though they were fighting, the two sides started trading goods, like spices and silk, and sharing knowledge, like math and medicine. This helped Europe grow later on. These wars created a lot of tension between the West and the Middle East that people still remember today. And about 3 million people lost their lives in that war. The 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648, was one of the most confusing and destructive wars in history that it started because of religion, and it ended up being about who would rule Europe. 1. How did it start? The spark. Imagine a big empire, the Holy Roman Empire, mostly modern-day Germany, where the people were split into two Christian groups, Catholics and Protestants. The emperor was Catholic and wanted everyone to follow his way. The Protestants wanted the freedom to practice their own faith. The famous window incident. In a city called Prague, some angry Protestants threw two Catholic officials out of a high window. They survived, landing in a pile of manure. But this spark started the giant fire of war. 2. Why did it last so long? It started as a local fight about religion, but then all the big neighboring countries joined in for their own reasons. Spain, Catholic, joined to help the emperor. Sweden, Protestant, joined to protect their religion and gain power. France, Catholic, did something surprising. They joined the Protestant side. Why? Because they hated the Spanish rulers more than they cared about religion. They wanted to be the most powerful country in Europe. 3. Why was it so terrible for regular people? This war was famous for being total war. Mercenaries, most soldiers were hired guns who didn't care about the cause. When they weren't paid, they robbed, burned, and attacked villages to get food and money. The invisible killers. Because armies were moving everywhere, they spread diseases like the plague. Because they burned farms, millions died of hunger. In some parts of Germany, half of the population died. 4. How did it end? In 1648, everyone was exhausted and broke. They signed a peace treaty that changed the world forever. Your land, your religion. They agreed that each ruler could decide the religion of their own land, and others must leave them alone. The birth of nations. This was the start of the modern idea of countries with borders that others shouldn't cross. Here also hunger and disease was a cause so many people died due to hunger and diseases. The French Wars for Religion. During this, there was brutal civil wars happened in France. Just like the other wars we discussed, it was a mix of people fighting for their faith and powerful families fighting for the throne. Here is the simple breakdown. 1. Who were the two sides? The conflict was between two groups of Christians in France. The Catholics, the majority of the population, and the powerful royal family. The Huguenots. This was the name given to French Protestants. Even though they were a minority, many wealthy and powerful nobles joined them. 2. What was the spark? In 1562, a powerful Catholic duke and his soldiers found a group of Huguenots praying in a barn. When they were praying, the soldiers attacked and killed many of them. This act of violence acted like a match thrown into a powder keg, starting a war that lasted for 36 years. St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre. This is one of the darkest moments in religious history. In 1572, many Protestant leaders gathered in Paris for a royal wedding intended to bring peace. Instead of peace, a surprise attack was ordered. Catholic mobs began killing Protestants in the streets of Paris. The violence spread across the country, and thousands of people were killed in just a few days. 4. How did it end? The king who switched sides. The war finally ended because of a man named Henry of Navarre. He was a Protestant leader who was next in line to become the King of France, Henry IV. However, the Catholic people of Paris wouldn't accept a Protestant king. The big choice, to bring peace, Henry decided to convert to Catholicism. He famously said, "Paris is worth a mass," meaning that becoming king and ending the war was more important than his personal religion. 5. The result, a step toward peace. Once he became king, he signed a very important law called the Edict of Nantes, 1598. It gave the Protestants, Huguenots, the right to practice their religion in certain places. It was one of the first times in Europe that two different religious groups were legally allowed to live together in the same country. Catholics wanted France to remain 100% Catholic. Huguenots wanted the freedom to practice Protestantism. Total deaths: 2 to 4 million, mostly from disease and hunger. After hearing all of this, what did you learn? Love everyone equally, not because of religion. One day religion will end, but humanity never ends. If you like this video, subscribe.